You ever had a night where you're just on fire socially? Every word out of your mouth is gold. Every joke that you say just slays. Everybody's just orbiting around you like you're the sun. Everyone's just wanting your attention. And everything you do is so on point. And then you go to bed, smiling, feeling so good, and you wake up the next morning and you kind of just feel normal again. And you wish to yourself, wow, if every moment of my life could be spent in that zone, that would be worth $1 gazillion. But of course, it's not gonna look like that, because here's what's kind of funny. If you go out and you have a horrible night socially, if you wake up the next day, you'll feel back to your baseline. You'll feel back to normal. So that's a good thing, right? Bad, horrible day or night, you go to bed, you wake up, you'll feel pretty much back to normal. But the downside is that if you have an amazing day or night out, you're meeting everybody, you're at a party, an office function, just socializing, wherever it is, at the same time, you also wake up the next day, usually at your baseline. So what I want to do here in Chicago is we're going to hop on a boat, and we're going to be talking about how to decode these incredible days or night when you're just on fire. You're having this amazing episode, but you want to internalize it. You want to make it a part of who you are. And the basic way that we're going to do this is we're going to look at a number of different areas: how you change your body language, how you change in your thoughts, how you change in how you're reacting to different stimulus, and really just how your mind is changing, your energy is changing, your body language is changing, the way you express yourself is changing, is becoming more variant, it's becoming more exciting, or maybe becoming more calm or more congruent. We're going to look at this, and what we're going to do now is decode this. We're going to go on a boat and decode this step by step by step by step. If you can roll with me here on this boat ride, it's going to be a lot of fun, maybe a little noisy. We're going to roll together here, and we're going to come out of it at the end of this boat ride with an amazing, powerful insight about the exact keys that you need to know to replicate the very best days and nights of your life.
Yep, I'm focused. On the beat, focus. Terrence Martin, focus. Focus. Terrence Martin, focus. Lock high, focus. Yeah. It was all a dream. I couldn't afford Word Up magazine. Looking at the gangsters on the block serving dope fiends. Hand-to-hand exchanges, lights, hammers, and police. Used to wanna be like Easy, sipping on OE. Practicing the mirror, looking hard was my routine. Wake up, throw on my 501s, loafs and my white tee, and turn on the television. And WA was the hardest group out. And the DOC. High Power was the shit, word to DRE. And Fat Five Freddy was the man. Put me on the Public Enemy and that's Clan. Yeah, he did that. And can't forget about Run DMC. My mama Rose took me to the first show that I seen. Dropped me off playing gospel music oh so loud. But in my headphones, Rakim was moving the crowd. Mixtapes that Steve made. Back at the Rodeum, Adidas with no strings and Chucks with
So we're sitting here in a boat in Chicago. I've actually wanted to shoot here for many years. One of the most beautiful places I've ever visited is the Riverway here in Chicago. And what I want to do is begin by asking you, what would it feel like if you looked exactly like your ultimate self? I want you to imagine that you've been in the gym eating a perfect diet for the past 15 years. I want you to imagine that you're wearing the exact clothing that you wanted. I want you to imagine that you're at a party that you created. You invited everybody to the party, and everybody is there to see you. Maybe you're in front of a seminar room giving an amazing seminar. Maybe you're a rock star giving this amazing concert. Maybe you're a preacher in front of the crowd. At the church, everybody's going crazy. Whatever it is, I want you to imagine that you look as good as you could look. You're in the best shape of your life. Everybody's there for you. You're wearing your perfect clothes. I want you to imagine as well that you're rich beyond rich. You have so much cash, you couldn't spend it all. Literally, you could want for nothing. I want you to imagine that your dating life was just off the chains. Your dating life was so crazy that you don't even have time to go on dates with somebody else because your dating life is so crazy. Or maybe you have a significant other who you're so in love with that you honestly wouldn't even want to talk to somebody else because you're just so focused and locked in on the person who you're with. Imagine you have the biggest house or the best apartment. Imagine that you have helicopters at your disposal. Everything is perfect. Imagine that you've sorted out all of your own inner issues so that you're not plagued by insecurities anymore. Imagine that you had all of that. I want you to imagine that right now. Just take a moment and imagine that. Go in your body and feel yourself doing this. How does it feel? Now, from this standpoint, what I'm gonna do is an audit with you. And in this audit, the basic idea is gonna be that I want you to really, really, really go into your imagination and think about how all this feels. But then what I want you to do is notice how things change. Like I said, in your body, in your voice, in your thoughts, in where your focus goes, in the way that you think. I want you to feel the difference here. And in the process of doing this, the main goal is to get it to a point where, because you've had that experience, you've felt what it likes to, you've felt exactly what it feels like to experience that. Then what you can do is you can go back and reference it in the future. Funny enough, I've actually never been high in my life. I've never used drugs in my life, but a lot of people, they like to do psychedelic drugs, things like magic mushrooms or things like that. I do not do these myself. I've never even smoked weed in my life. But the thing that people will say a lot about psychedelics, for example, is that you have this experience of feeling love emanating out of you, or you have this experience of thinking in a different way. And then when you come down from it, ideally, you come down from it and you can remember what that felt like, and you can try to integrate that. They call that integrating that experience in your day-to-day life. Well, I've never done that, and I'm not going to. It's definitely not for me. But I love that concept of having an experience and then furthering that with this idea of what's called integration. So that's really what I'm trying to get you to do here. Is I'm trying to show you how to integrate an experience like that. I'm going to be taking you through the integration of what it feels like to have that ultimate status. Imagine you had all the status in the world, all the approval in the world, all the self-love in the world. Everything's perfect. What would you notice and what would you experience in the integration of having experienced that? So exercise number 1 is I want you to become aware of how the media shapes your idea of what this perfect person that would have acceptance is. I'd like you to take a day, and even if you watch the rest of this video right now, that's completely fine. But in general, maybe after this, or maybe just for a few minutes right now, I'd like you to take a day, or even a month or a year, whatever it takes, but again, watch the rest of the video, and really look at many of these media stereotypes. I mean, I actually think it's really cool, and I think it's kind of playful and fun. But look at maybe Dan Bilzerian's Instagram, and how he's jacked, and he's surrounded by all these beautiful people, and he's doing all these cool things. And look at how there's sort of a media image there of a perfect life. Or just maybe look at, say, a Gap commercial from the store The Gap. Or look at Victoria's Secret, or look at Dolce & Gabbana, or look at Tom Ford or Chanel, or maybe look at Abercrombie and Fitch or something like that, like a mid-level brand. If you're watching this long after I'm dead, these are basically a combination of luxury brands that existed at one time, as well as day-to-day brands or social media figures that just look like they're crushing it and really who are crushing it. Now, a lot of people get bitter about this kind of thing. They're like, oh, we shouldn't be showing images like that. You're going to compare yourself. I don't really take it that badly. I think that you can look at it and kind of just enjoy it and enjoy the playfulness of it, or maybe the images in a movie or in fashion, whatever. I think you can just enjoy it. You don't need to get salty about it. But I do also think simultaneously, you do have to be aware of how it's impacting your mind, right? Like, for example, I'm a balding ginger. I look a little bit like a garden gnome. I kind of look a bit like the guy in the Lucky Charms cereal box or something like that. If you're watching this in the future after I'm dead, there used to be these sugar cereals filled with processed foods that killed people, but they made these really high margins off. And there was this thing called a leprechaun. It's like a little Irish guy running around, right? And he was feeding you this sugar, but they called it like a Lucky Charm. You're getting lucky while you poison yourself, basically. So you see this basic idea that I look like a leprechaun, but if you watch me and you see me as this kind of nerdy person, kind of quirky and whatnot, maybe you're a nerdy person and quirky, and all of a sudden you say, wait a minute, maybe I could do that too. If Owen could do that, the balding ginger garden gnome, maybe that means that I could do it too. Does that make you feel good when you see that? I personally believe that's why I have a following. I think there's a percentage of people who relate to where I'm at, and when they see my videos, they say, oh, okay, I could go do the things that he's doing. I think that's why they watch it. But take note that even though I'm sort of a counterbalance of that, if you like my stuff, if you don't like my stuff, then I could be an anti-counterbalance, but if you like my stuff, I'm a counterbalance of that. Notice all these other images that are going in your head and how that's impacting your winner effect, okay? Like we talked about in the Grand Canyon video, when we feel like we have acceptance, when we feel like we've matched society's ideals, it changes our hormones, might even change our immune system, it changes our brain's neurochemistry. So notice that. Now, like I said in the Grand Canyon video, quick review here, what happens when you feel like you have acceptance is that this part of your mind opens up. Your body language changes, your thought patterns change, your feelings change, everything changes when you feel like you have approval. This is why people are addicted on validation. You'll see dark sides of this when a dictator goes out and takes over a whole country because they've got to rule the world, right? To get that feeling of validation. Or people will insult each other or try to one-up each other to get that feeling of status and validation. People are generally very, very addicted to that feeling of validation because what it does, it opens up your brain. Do you see what it's doing? If you don't feel like you have acceptance, your parts of your brain shut down, right? You know when you go to talk to someone who you're nervous in front of, or maybe you do a public speaking engagement, you're a bit nervous, and you start stammering, you go, you don't exactly know how to talk at that point, right? Because your brain shuts down. It does that because your brain is trying to audit, do I have approval, do I have approval? And your brain doesn't want you to get too loud or confident if you don't have approval, because you could get attacked, okay? You'll literally be attacked. If you get loud and brash and fun and start being a leader, but you don't have the approval, you might get attacked, so your brain shuts you down. The thing is, we live in a relatively safe society. And if you just take on that high status role, that leadership role, if you show that you're at your full potential, people will start trying to get your attention anyway. You're actually better off to do it, but we get scared. It's irrational. It's this old prehistoric vestige of the brain, this winner effect, that we don't even necessarily need anymore. It has certain purposes, it has certain advantages, but it's not as hard as you would think. So that's the first exercise. That's the first audit. What I need you to do is look at the media imagery and see how much you match up, and then look at how much mental capital you're using to try to live up to that image. And look at how it messes with you and it shuts you down. I don't want you doing that. I don't want you shutting down. I want you to become highly, highly aware of how you're being impacted by these images and how it's impacting your winner effect. That is the first audit. And again, having done that, then what we're gonna do is start looking at how this is going even further than that and impacting your thoughts and feelings and emotion and disposition, which is affecting your overall social results.
In a dope cutty with no tags though and no plates too, with the burn on his lap banging that new snoop. Murder was the case. See, he went to jail. I wasn't ready for the life of a hustler. Well, see, I ain't tripping no, and I don't want to, but I kept it too, cause I went to school in Watson, lived off flossing on the Shaw Flossing, cracking hoes with my homies. Fat gold herringbone pockets full of money from serving big dope.
T, won't you come and seek from the hood?
Nah, AB, I'm all good. Instead,
So you might have seen those images back in the day. I've seen these in museums of women from 300 years ago, and they're curvy. They've got these beautiful big curves, this beautiful pasty skin. They've never been in the sun. And that's so funny as a contrast to nowadays, when oftentimes the standard of beauty might be women that are, for example, slim with a tan and so on and so forth. And it's just sort of, and it's just kind of funny how that image is a little bit different. It changes with the times, right? So standards of beauty, in many ways, are very much determined by the images shoved in your face. It's not what's actually genetically better or better objectively. It's a lot of this kind of media propaganda. So, like I said, you become aware of that. And in auditing how you'd feel, imagine if this was your moment. Maybe it was 300 years ago. The exact type of person that you are is the person that you want to be. Imagine that. Now, like I said, we're going to audit. So first of all, audit how it would feel in your thoughts. What kind of thoughts would you have in that moment? You're sitting there joking around, everybody's hanging on your every word, everybody's pandering to you. What kind of thoughts do you have? Are you insecure? Are you thinking that you're not good enough? Are you overthinking what's happening? Or are you kind of just out of your head and kind of just enjoying what it is that you have to say? Do you feel like you're adding value? When you speak, do you expect that everybody's going to enjoy it and you just want to express yourself and you want to share? Do you sit there listening to responses from people and say, what did that mean? What was that about? Or do you just sit there enjoying yourself, just having fun? Think about this for a minute. What kind of thoughts are you having? Are you sitting there obsessing over how to offer this kind of added value to society? I gotta build a business. I gotta be cool. I gotta be dressed well. Or are you just thinking I'm enough and just having fun? So that's the first thing that I want you to audit is your thoughts. Go into your mind right now and just imagine exactly what your thoughts would be like if you had it all, if you were that perfect standard of beauty right now. And I'd like you to integrate that, okay? Think of how all that anxiety would go away. Think about how you're in a flow. Think about how different capacities would wake up. I want you to audit that right now. Now, the next most important thing that I want you to audit is the shifts in your body language and the shifts in your physiology. Would you be kind of tense? Would you be holding your body in? Would you be holding your shoulders up? How would you feel in your body right now? Or would you be kind of just relaxed and flowing, maybe taking up space freely? What would be the difference in your body language? What would be the difference in your physiology? Think about every single aspect of how your body language would change if you're judging yourself and feeling insecure versus if you think that you're enough. You just think that you're absolutely amazing. Everything from your eye contact to your voice to your cadence, everything, just review that. Now, the next thing that I want you to audit is how you respond to different stimulus. In other words, let's say that somebody insults you. If you feel amazing about yourself, do you view that as a joke and they're being playful and they're bonding with you? Do you view it like they're attacking you and like you have to defend yourself and you have to be careful and you gotta show them that they can't get away with that? You can't let them just get away with that. You've gotta hit back. Or do you just view it as a joke? Do you view it as a little fun? Do you view it as entertaining? Oh, they're joking with you. That's called busting your chops. How do you feel about that? Now imagine, for example, that you walk into a venue where you don't know anybody, maybe a bar or club, maybe a house party, any kind of get-together, you're walking down the street. When you're looking at people, are you feeling like they're potential friends? Or do you view them as a potential threat? Do you view them as people that are fans that are there to welcome you and as members of the same human race that we're all a part of, that we're all related to each other, that we're all red on the inside? Or are you viewing it like you're separate from other people and you're in your own little isolated island and you've got to fight and scrap for what's yours? When you're talking to somebody, do you want to joke with them and share a great vibe and a great moment together? Or are you coming from a frame where you've got to kind of assert your frame and make them fall into your opinions? Do you view it as just sharing laughs and joy? Or do you view it as you need to convince someone and create some kind of a transaction with them to feel like you won in that social interaction? So again, just auditing there, look very, very closely at how you're responding to that stimulus. How do you react to something like rejection? How do you react to something like the person is responding in a certain way and your emotions start changing based on that stimulus? Does your emotional system feel like it's always being pulled around, right? Like you feel grounded and centered? Or is your emotional system just constantly being pulled around all the time based on how someone's responding? So again, that next audit, how do you respond to stimulus when you feel like the most amazing person in the world? And just think about that for a moment and integrate it. So next up, what I want you to audit is your creativity, your mental bandwidth, your ability to think outside the box, your ability to flow mentally, your ability to think super laterally all over the place. Imagine that right now you had to make up that $1 million idea. Well, if everybody thinks you're the most amazing person ever, if everybody loves you for exactly who you are, you're probably gonna have a lot of confidence in that idea. You're gonna think laterally very quickly. Maybe you have a challenge at your work and what winds up happening is people say, what do you think we should do about this challenge? You're like, you know what? Boom, I got the idea right then and there. Because most people, when they're more insecure, and here's the key, most people when they're more insecure, they feel like they're only allowed to have certain thoughts. They're only permitted to have certain thoughts. But when you feel high status, when you feel good about yourself, you feel like any thought that you have could be of very high value, could be very cool. So I want you to think about this for a minute. What kind of thinking do you allow yourself to have? When you feel low status, there's this thing that's called the Overton Window, which can be a good thing. The Overton Window, it includes things like don't harm other people. I think that's very important. The Overton Window is very important. But sometimes the Overton Window can also be entrenched in groupthink and very unhealthy and limiting groupthink. So when we feel low status, we feel like we're really stuck in that Overton Window. You'll see it if you talk to someone in low status, it's quite common. If they feel low about themselves, if you suggest something out of the official sanctioned mainstream narrative, they start to panic. You'll literally see them get really tense and they almost glaze over like a robot and they're like, no, that is not true and this is the only way and this is the truth. I am a robot, I am programmed. You'll see that. But imagine right now that you knew that you're a leader, that you trusted yourself, you trusted your thoughts, that other people looked up to you and encouraged you to trust your thoughts. I don't think that means break the Overton Window to the point of harming somebody, but I would think that you could break the Overton Window as far as making a new invention, or having a new approach to life, or coming up with some new insight that could change the world. Again, think about when you feel good about yourself and you're gonna go talk to someone. Are you gonna go into these kind of interview questions that are boring? Say you're talking to someone and you feel low about yourself. Maybe you're gonna say, where are you from? What do you do? I can only say things in the Overton Window that I think I'm supposed to say. What is your opinion on this? My opinion is the sanctioned one. The sanctioned one. I'm original because I'm the freaking same, right? I'm conforming the best. I'm conforming the best. Look at me, right? I'm in the center. Oh, here's the outside. No lions for me out here, but me right in the center right there. You start getting like that. What if you felt good about yourself? What kind of thinking would you allow yourself to have? How would you allow yourself to feel? What thoughts would you allow yourself to have? And then what would happen when, say, you're talking to someone, maybe someone who you're a little bit intimidated by normally, and all of a sudden your mind is able to have this huge breadth of thoughts. You come up with all this humor, all these different jokes. Your mind's everywhere, and people marvel at it. I've never seen someone so confident they start to think. It's so crazy how that could go. So audit that. Audit the amount of lateral thinking and mental bandwidth and clarity and those $1 million ideas that you could have if you just assumed that people thought that what you had to say was cool, that people admired you, and it would give you permission to unlock that part of your brain. Having that winner effect up is so powerful because it really does feed off of those $1 million ideas.
Cause I went to school in Watson, lived off Slauson, on the sharp floss and cracking hoes with my homies. Fat gold herringbone pockets full of money from serving serving big dope.
P, won't you come and seek from the hood?
Nah, AB, I'm all good. Instead, I picked up the mic and sax and start recording. This is the life and time of Terrence Martin.
Boombox and the mic is all I need. And keep shit moving, do as I please. Be serving every time I...
The next one, we're going to talk about freedom of expression, range of expression, and by the way, we're going to show that with a contrast to congruence, but I'll get to that in a moment. So imagine that everybody loved you. Everybody thought you're the coolest person in the world. How much would you not only be able to get a little bit outside the box, a little bit outside the, the parts of the Overton window that's good to get out of, but at the same time, if you felt good about your range of expression, maybe you could change up your expression. Maybe you could change up your expression. Maybe you could change up your expression. Maybe, 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 you could feel free to change up your range of expression. You would change the range of Hey, no, zip it, no, Chicago. No, just fine. Right? The range of expression. If you felt amazing right now, if you felt like people were going to judge you badly, but that people would think your range of expression is cool, how much would your voice change? Would you dance freely or would you be trapped in? Audit this. Think about it right now. We're integrating this kind of experience. We're doing integration here, okay? We've got to be integrating what it is that we're doing. Because if you just feel good sometimes and you don't see the difference consciously, then what's going to wind up happening is you're not going to know how to get back there when you don't have that acceptance, right? Like when I get acceptance, I'll notice my range of expression just gets amazing, right? My range of expression gets amazing. My range of expression gets amazing. My range of expression gets loose and punchy and fun, or maybe chill. Maybe I'm quiet. Maybe I'm a little bit more relaxed. It could be anything like that. Do you see what I'm getting at here? It could literally be anything. And the reason why, when you feel like you have that kind of acceptance, then what winds up happening is you say to yourself, you know what? I feel good about this. I feel good to have this range of expression because people are going to appreciate it. They're going to enjoy it. See, imagine you're dancing and everybody's loving it, right? And you're doing it more and more and more, and you're thinking more and more laterally. Your body language is getting looser. You're more out of your head. You're not monopolizing all that mental bandwidth, wondering what they're thinking. Because you can't be creative when you're sitting there wondering what other people are thinking. Do they like it? Do they like you? Are you cool? Are you good enough? Are you dressed good enough? Is everything okay? How is everything? And now you can't be creative. All that mental bandwidth is monopolized. Your genius, your $1 million idea, even solving a simple problem. Maybe you're an employee making minimum wage and your boss says to you, can you solve this? And you're so trapped in your head, wondering how you look, that you can't even solve a simple little problem. You're a derper. You're taking the path of least resistance. You're so worried about approval that when dumb things come in the mainstream, you believe it and feed it. And you contribute to a society like that, and the breakdown of society, of people that just want to take the path of least resistance and not get hassled, and not contributing anything. Just another person taking the path of least resistance, another conformist. What do you want to contribute? But see, the challenge is when you do that, and this is the next audit, is what I call congruence. And here's what I mean by congruence. You can go do these things, hey, right? You try to do it. But if you don't believe it, then it's, I hate to be rude here, but it's like kind of like you're clenching your butt to defecate, and you're trying to push out that last meal that you had, and you're tight. So now you go, me, hey, right? Your thoughts, words, and actions are not aligned. So you've got to have it to where your thoughts, words, and actions are aligned. If you're stuck in your mind thinking, how am I being judged? But then you're moving and dancing and expressing, there's an inner resistance there. Now, that's the next audit, like I said, congruence. So yes, express yourself. Of course, yes. But at the same time, if there's resistance, hey, your eye contact's looking away, your body language is tight, your throat is tightening up. People can feel that, they sense that coming off of you. So you want to have it to where you're very congruent. Your thoughts, words, and actions are aligned. Audit that. See how you feel in doing that. Very, very, very important, okay? So there's a paradox here. Range of expression and congruence. And you've got to be able to play them both off of each other to the maximum of your ability. And really ultimately the sweet spot here, if you really want to be in that sweet spot, the ultimate sweet spot of this is where you're expressing in a major way, but then at the exact same time what's happening is that you're not trying too hard. See, some people try to be pure congruent. If you're just trying to be pure congruent, you know what's going to happen? You're kind of boring. If you're just going for pure expression, you're a dancing monkey. So you want to hit that spot right in the middle. That's the main one. Now, the final one that I want to get you to audit, and this is the big one here, is what I call, are you self-referencing or other-referencing? And this is huge when it comes to actually how you're expressing yourself. So again, this next audit, I want you to imagine right now that you're sitting in a group of people kind of all chatting, right? You're sitting there, you're chatting, you're in your group, it's a lot of fun. And maybe there's somebody there who's very, very high status. So as you're talking to this person who's high status, you'll keep looking to them to see if they nod or not based on what it is that you're saying, okay? I want you to actually audit this, okay? The next time that you're in a group of people, notice how you'll keep looking at that person who's the highest status in the circle, and then they'll either nod or not nod. Now, by the way, sometimes you think that to be alpha, to be the high status person, you need to be talking the most. That's not actually true. Sometimes you could be the anchor of the conversation. You don't always have to be expressing the most. You can be the anchor of the conversation. Now, what does that mean? What I would describe that as, very simple, is that the high status person is always getting the energy being put in their direction, right? Like, I don't know, maybe here, hey! What's up, guys? Right? If you're that person, people will be looking at what it is that you're doing. People are looking at what it is that you're thinking, what you're saying. So they'll give a little opinion and then they're waiting to see how you'll react. Do you ever talk to someone who maybe you're into? And every little joke that you say, you're waiting to see how they react. Now that's a good thing because you're aware how you're making them feel. That's called social calibration, social awareness. If you're making someone uncomfortable, you better be aware of that. You better be aware if you're making someone uncomfortable and get out of there if they're not comfortable. But that being said, in general, when you're having fun, if you say something funny and you're waiting for their validation to feel good about what it is that you said, that is not a strong place to be coming from. That is one of the weakest positions to be coming from, right? So say you make that funny little joke, you're kind of pushing and pulling a little bit, maybe teasing a little bit. You know what? I'd marry you, divorce you, and take half your money. A playful joke as an example. Just joking around, something that everybody knows is kidding. Do you say it like, hey, I'm gonna marry you and divorce you and take half your money? Ha ha! Are you self-referencing or are you other-referencing? See, here's the main difference. One is self-amusement and the other is reaction-seeking. And so when you're saying things and you're pumping your own emotion, and almost like a Care Bear, it's shooting that emotion out. You say something that you think is hilarious, and then it shoots the emotion out at that other person. That is such a strong position to be coming from, because what's gonna happen is now you're self-referencing as the high status person in that environment. The person who everybody loves, the person who everyone thinks is amazing, right? So then what happens is by instinct, other people start to reference what you think is funny. If you're not sure about what you think is funny, other people aren't gonna be sure about what you think is funny, right? They're just gonna kind of question every little thing. So again, in this audit, right, we've all had these experiences where we're just crushing it socially. It's amazing. Isn't that a great feeling when you're just crushing it socially? We've had those experiences, but then we forget what it feels like to do that. So next time that you're socializing, for example, here's what I would love you to do. Try joking. And like we said in all these different audits, notice, am I enjoying what I'm saying? Am I saying this for me and to express or to impress? Am I expressing or impressing, right? And this same principle, it really can go for a lot of things. For example, take even bragging, right? One thing that I always emphasize in the Grand Canyon video, I emphasize this in the Las Vegas video, I emphasize this, is that in any social interaction, there's always one person reacting more to the other person than that person's reacting to them. And so you don't want to be self-qualifying. You don't want to be sitting there going, I'm rich, you know, I'm cool, you know, I date movie stars, you know, right? That makes you look like a loser, because what you're doing is you're reacting to the other person and you're making them the superstar. Don't do that. Not good. But let me throw kind of a twist on that. And again, you'd never be doing this if I'm just being honest. Just, we're being real. But let's just say in theory, you found it funny to be like, I am rich, right? Let's say that you found it funny to be like, I am dating the world. You know, say you're doing something like that, right? That'll be a good clickbait. Like, cut it out of context. So you see the main point, right? Say that you were self-qualifying in that way. People might actually find that funny. Because you're not necessarily self-qualifying. What you're doing in that scenario is you're expressing what you think is funny. So many of these rules that we have around social interaction as far as like what's cool or what's not cool, like as in like what's high status or low status, you can break those if you're self-amusing, right? Like, I mean, even if you say, let's go eat, say you're hoping the people will go, wanna come eat? Let's go eat, right? But if you're like, let's go eat, time to eat, right? Or even just chill, it's time to eat. You know, I'm so hungry. I love this restaurant. Tempo Cafe here in Chicago, really tasty. Bijan Bistro, really tasty. You know, you're just saying it because you like it. It's gonna come across completely different. So this final audit that we have here is, are you self-referencing? And if you're self-referencing, people will actually get pulled into it. The main idea here being that we're auditing these different aspects of, you know, on that perfect day or night when everybody's loving you, and we're in the flow, but we don't know how to replicate it. What we're seeing here is that we can actually study this flow, study this awesome night, and by understanding it chunk by chunk by chunk, we can slam ourselves back in that kind of gear, whether people are approving us or not, simply because we've studied it.
Freddie was the man, put me on the Public Enemy and that's clan. Yeah, he did that. And can't forget about Run DMC. My mama Rose took me to the first show that I seen. Dropped me off playing gospel music oh so loud, but in my headphones, Rakim was moving the crowd. Mixtapes that Steve made back at the Rodeum. Adidas with no strings and Chucks with the top was bumping Chronic on replay.
So I'm gonna wrap the video with a funny story about when I first started to become aware of this. I remember I was about 17 years old, and most of my life, my mind was really, really suppressed, to the point that I was in a very, very dark place. My body language was contracted, my voice was contracted, my range of thinking was contracted. I was in an ever-present dark state, just suppressed forever. Really a horrible way to live. That's why I'm so passionate about this stuff. It's such a horrible way to live. Hard to make money, hard to focus, hard to be happy, hard to be healthy, hard to think of anything. You just go through life basically as a conformist, really like as a battery in the Matrix, just feeding other people's agenda. So I can remember what that was like. I remember the very first time that I had an experience of this. It was for maybe half an hour or something. I was at a party with a group of my friends, just my closest little circle of nerd friends. And I remember I started dancing with my friends. And there was this other person there who I started dancing with, very beautiful person. We had so much fun. And I jumped on the bed, this very, very beautiful person. And we started enjoying each other's company. Nothing came of it. Nothing at all came of it. But I'd never had that much attention in my life. And I noticed that I felt confident just to tell jokes. I felt confident to just express myself. I never felt like that in my life. It was so weird. And I was like, I'm in the zone right now. I never felt that. Now, I felt that for like half an hour. That went away. And I don't think I experienced that again for maybe several more years when I first started going out to bars and clubs. And funny enough, I had that experience of feeling different and seeing that my results were changing. Very, very beautiful experience. So having had that experience, my challenge was that just because I felt that as a little episode, it was sort of episodic, it wasn't something that I'd integrated. There was no integration of that experience. And it took me many, many years to audit what those experiences were like and what they were constituted of in order to be able to say, you know what, even when I don't feel that kind of acceptance, I know all those little keys that I can kind of, almost like an airplane, just go, turn the dial, boom, 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 right? It's like body language, open up. Mindset, don't be insecure. I know, easier said than done, I know. Okay, but if you practice it, you could do it. Interpretation of stimulus, collaborative. They're my friends, they're busting my chops, they're cool. We love each other, this is fun. Let's be playful. Lateral thinking. I don't need to think in this little tiny box. Okay, I can get out of the box. I can think a little bit differently. I can think for myself. I can trust my own opinion. I have self-trust. I have self-love. I don't need to wait for love from other people. I can be congruent. I feel into my body. I say, wait a minute, are my thoughts, words, and actions aligned? How do I feel right now? Even when I start a video. Hey, what's up? It's Owen. Hey, what's up? It's Owen. No. One's too high, one's too low. Hey, what's up? It's Owen, right? Notice the difference. I do that to start a video sometimes. Hey, what's up? It's Owen. Too much energy. Hey, I'm so congruent. What's up? Right? Too little energy. It's like one is I'm trying to look like I have a range of expression. The other is I'm trying to look like I'm congruent. Hey, what's up? It's up. Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? It's Owen. Right? Little weird to do it on command there, but you see my point? I can feel that in my body. Am I congruent? Maybe I say something funny. Am I looking to them or am I self-referencing? And I just look at these little keys. And when I look at these keys, it empowers me to say, you know what? I'm spot on. So here is what I would leave you with. This is the ultimate key, I think, of anything. The ultimate key is, are you self-selecting? The ultimate key is, do you choose you? And here's what I mean by that. Just went by the Trump Tower. Love or hate Donald Trump, don't care at all. Not the point of the video. I know you want to make it the point of the video. Not the point of the video. But if you look at Donald Trump, as far as his self-selection, Trump didn't go become a mayor and then become a congressman and then become the president. In his mind, if he's going to do something like that, he goes right to the top. He becomes the president. You looked at Trump, you said, this guy's the president or nothing. He is self-selecting. Again, you can hate the guy, but he did something that nobody else has done, which is someone who, in effect, is just a regular citizen, not a career politician, became president. Maybe that has happened before. I don't know my history that well, but you know my point. Very unusual. Now, likewise, this is kind of a funny one. When you look at Anthony Robbins, can you just tell that he's the most successful self-help coach? Can you tell? And yet, do you really know his numbers? Do you really know? Or is it something in the way that Anthony Robbins carries himself that says, you know what, I could just tell? For many, many years, when I would coach social coaching, people would always assume that we're number one in the industry. It's always assumed. And yet, if you think about it, people did not have access to my shopping cart for the most part. Nobody knew my exact numbers. I could give my numbers, but nobody knows other people's numbers. Why is it that people would make that assumption? For many, many years, I would have different coaches, all celebrity coaches in their own right. And the average person, even if they didn't know my background, would say, Owen's probably the leader. Why is that? I believe, in my opinion, self-qualifying a bit, but in my opinion, I believe that there's a vibe that you give off when you're self-selecting. I remember this one guy, he said, your company's the 900-pound marketing gorilla in the room. You guys are the big boys. I said, how do you know that? He goes, because you are. Everyone knows that. I said, how do you know that? Everyone knows. How? How do you know that? It's a vibe. If you're somebody who meets someone who's really amazing, and you're the kind of person that you meet amazing people, you spend your time with amazing people, you spend your time with high-level people, you spend your time with brilliant, incredible, hilarious, uplifting people, there's a self-selection that goes into place. And in my mind, and this is what I conclude with, what I was trying to show you here was the keys that you can audit in yourself to choose you. But ultimately, if you walk into a venue and you're nervous and you're sitting there questioning yourself, saying jokes that you hope other people will like, hiding in your body language, hiding in your range of expression, being incongruent to try too hard rather than loosening up and getting aligned, and everything's just a little bit too hard, you're choosing someone else. And ultimately, you're depriving the world of the amazing person who you are, because I believe that you're amazing. I want everybody in this world to be at their fullest potential. I'm not one of those people who wants to drag other people down, pull them down so we can be part of this kind of equal collective, but nobody gets to shine. What brings a tear to my eye is seeing someone who was stifled in and afraid, scared, and seeing them break out of that shell. I will go, honestly, right into tears when you see me doing, when you see me coaching people with this. And often I'm so hard on people because I know that a lot of people are stuck in taking that path of least resistance. They want to take that path of least resistance so bad. And we live in a world that tries to brainwash us on other standards of beauty and tries to shove us on someone else's concept of what is amazing and what is not. But what I think is that you have your own set of experiences of your life. You're a unique snowflake. You're your own person. And I believe that you have value to offer. And I love you for that. I love you so much for that. And so I'm trying to show you the keys here to integrate these beautiful experiences so that you can come back from any of these experiences and carry something with you to recognize what it means to carry that with you and how to choose you. I choose you. Sometimes all it takes is one person to believe in you, to start to believe in yourself. And I believe in you, and my team believes in you. I want you to believe in yourself, and I want the world to believe in you too. I love you so much. So thank you for being out here with me in Chicago. It's actually been a dream of mine for many, many years to get out onto the water here, to do a video. So excited to be out here sharing this with you. I think the Chicago Riverway is one of the most beautiful places in the world. It's a challenge to shoot out here, but I wanted to give you my vision, my creative vision of how I want to communicate this message to you. And I'll be back with so many more messages. And I'm really excited to share a lifetime of different ideas with you. I hope that I'm around long enough to do it. And if you're seeing this in the future, when I'm dead and gone, remember, I'm still here with you now. We're all in this together. And we're all going to be at our best. And we're all going to make it. So I'll see you soon. Peace.
Focus. Terrace margin. Focus. Lock high. Focus. dream. I couldn't afford Word Up magazine. Looking at the gangsters on the block serving dope fiends. Hand-to-hand exchanges, lights, hammers, and police. Used to wanna be like Easy, sipping on OE. Practicing the mirror, looking hard was my routine. Wake up, throw on my 501s, loafs and my white tee, and turn on the television.